not even need Bauer's game for me.
Ahoy there, YouTube! I'm back again today for another game review. Today I'm very excited to check out By Order of the Queen from Junk Spirit Games. This is for 2 to 4 players. Take you 90 minutes to 2 hours to play. It's for ages 10 plus. And in By Order of the Queen, this is a family cooperative game where you are going to be going out, questing, fighting monsters in this fantasy game that doesn't feel like your typical fantasy game. There's lots of dice rolling. It's cooperative, it's questing, but does it all come together to form a nice cohesive package? Let's open it up and I'll tell you what I think. Alright then, we're going to take a look what you're going to get inside of By Order of the Queen. So first and foremost, we're a handy dandy rule booklet. 20 pages, double-sided, full color, full of pictures, illustrations, examples, pretty large text, and it's a pretty well done rule booklet. It's not nearly as bad as it sounds at 20 pages. You're really only going to need the first 14 pages realistically and the back quick reference unless you wanted to modify the rules. So overall, it is a pretty well done rule booklet. I really wish there was like an FAQ for like quick questions you had about certain things. But overall, well done. Give it a thumbs up. So in By Order of the Queen, what you're going to be doing is you are going to be cooperatively trying to complete 3 of these Queen's things right here. And you're going to do that by questing. And most of the game, you're going to be questing. You're going to quest, you're going to be doing personal quests, you're going to be doing the Queen's quest. And the other thing that you're going to do that's not questing is you're going to be fighting monsters by rolling dice. What am I talking about? Let's go over some of the components and let's get into the gameplay. Normally I talk about all the components, but as you can see, there is a lot of components. So we're going to very briefly talk about them. Then we're going to show you the different things you can do on your turn because there's only a couple things you can do on your turn. And once you understand those things, you'll kind of get a feel for the game pretty fast. So in By Order of the Queen, the first thing you're going to do is you're going to start off with one of these cards right here. And these cards are one of the really interesting aspects of the game. Which class are you? Which house are you from? Each one is going to give you a unique starting item that only you will have. So let's just say I am the Fire Mains. So I'm going to begin the game with the Nimble Spear. These are the red items right here. And the red items generally are ones that you do not ever have to discard, which is always a good thing. So just do not discard when used. Let's say on the bottom. So the Nimble Spear means that I am going to be better at doing the foot rolls, which will make more sense a little bit later. So I just put that in front of me right down here where you can't even see it, but we'll know it's right there. Also, every single turn, you are going to be placing 4 heroes down. And these are the heroes. We'll talk a little bit about them later. You're going to be placing 4 heroes down. When you fight monsters, when you go questing for yourself, when you go questing for the Queen, when you fight the Nemesis, you're always going to be putting 4 monsters down. And if you ever put down 2 of these symbol and then get rid of them at the end of your turn, you get to do a special thing. And everybody's special thing is a little bit different. Some people will get items, some people will get henchmen. I get to remove a threat from the growing enemy track, which is this track up here, which is also one of the ways you can lose the game. So it's nice to have that special ability. So now that I've gotten that, I'm going to draw myself 7 heroes, and I'll talk more about the heroes in a minute, and we're ready to play the game. You're going to flip over one of these. This will be the Queen's thing that you're trying to complete. So for this particular one, we have to we have to just go to this area, and then we have to get 8 stars on this. You're going to get 8 stars on this by successfully questing. When you finally get 8 on this and the round ends, you will get a bonus, which will be on the right-hand corner. And the bonuses are pretty good. They'll help you stretch out the game a little bit because this is somewhat of a difficult game. So that's the Queen's quest. You're going to be going to these 4 different locations. The locations are all pretty much the same. They have obviously different stories on the back, and each one, as you'll see in a couple minutes, does have a different mini story on it. The big difference is these symbols in the bottom left-hand corner. Those are the symbols that are most prevalently on the back of these cards for you to succeed in the Silver Coast. So in the Silver Coast, most likely you're going to need book smarts, be able to speak eloquently, and be strong. But sometimes you won't. So let's just say this one right here, it's just asking for your brains, and you can't really prepare for that. That's just what's on the back of most of them. So continuing on, let's take a look at the board, the ways you can lose the game. We talked about how you could win the game. You complete 3 of these cards, and you win the game. How do you lose the game? Well, let's go over here. This is the threat track, and there's 3 different parts of the threat track. They're all pretty much the same. You're going to be putting threats on these tracks at the beginning of each round, and also when you fail at quests. So this one right here, these are villagers. If you ever run out of villagers, you lose the game. How do you lose villagers? Well, if you ever have monsters down here that you do not completely kill before the end of the round, then they will eat your villagers. So you obviously want to be fighting these guys down here, and I'll talk about them a little bit later. Also, this part of the growing threat track is going to tell you how many monsters you're going to add. So for instance, 2 to 4 monsters, you'll add 2 monsters down here. And if you ever completely neglect this area and you don't have room to put those monsters, well then guess what? If you have to put 2 monsters out and you don't have the space, you just immediately lose 2 villagers, which is really stinking bad. Next, you have confidence of the regions. You want the regions around you to think that you're a competent ruler, that you're a competent quester. So you have to make sure you're managing the threat here, because when you have too much threat here, then poop, you're going to lose these. And once you completely run out of the confidence of the other regions, you guessed it, you lose the game. Last way to lose the game is the Garden Sanctuary over here. And this is going to tell you to retire heroes, and these are going to be your heroes. There's a finite amount of heroes. Once you are out of these heroes, you lose the game, and you guessed it, this one is going to tell you how many heroes you're going to put over here in the retired hero area, which is this thin little piece of plastic, which I felt like could have just been, I don't know, I felt like it could have been part of the board, but I'll talk more about that in the pros and cons. So those are the main ways you're going to lose the game. Up top here, you'll have a different card that you will reveal at the beginning of each round, and the rounds are going to be kept track of. Boop, up here, which the round actually has a pretty interesting round structure, which we'll talk a little bit about later. And these ones will generally have this on them. So first over here, you're going to increase threats, added some more tokens on that area over there. And it normally is always a combination of 1, 1, 2. So 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 1, 1, 1, 2. As you can see, pretty samey stuff there. And then an effect. And the effect could be good, it could be bad. Sometimes it'll add monsters, sometimes it'll add stuff to dice rolls, sometimes it'll let you fight a little bit easier. So +1 dice on tests in Obsidian Waste, which is that specific location right there. So it's pretty good, especially if you need to go there. Also, in the upper left-hand corner, it will have an event reward. So this one, if you ever achieve a moon, you'll gain an item. And I'll show you how to achieve a moon. Actually, let's do it right now. Let's talk about questing, because questing is the main thing you will be doing in the game, either for yourself or for the queen. So let's talk about for the queen. For the queen, you just have to go to this location and you quest. And if you successfully do parts of quests, you will add these tokens to it. You get to 8, you complete her big quest. You'll do it at the end of the round, and if you do that 3 times, you win the game, as I mentioned. But you're also going to have personal quests, which are these quests down here. And when you decide to do a personal quest, you'll take 2 of them, you'll pick one, and you'll put the other one back on the bottom of the pile. So let's take a look at a quest. So this one right here, the 9th inscription. So I need to go to Silver Coast, and I need to go to Obsidian Waste 2 times. I'm going to get +1 dice to my wisdom test, because a lot of them will have additional rules, as you can see right there. And my reward is on the bottom right. Remove 4 threat tokens from the Garden Sanctuary threat pool. Remove 3 tokens from any threat pool. So, you know what, I will take this one because I only have to do it twice. But let's see what that additional rule is. When you have this quest, you may not take any other action other than a questing action. So that one is a little bit dicey, but you know what? I'm going to go ahead and do that. So now we're ready to go questing. So I need to go to Ironstone Crags. So I'll go to Ironstone Crags, and I'll read you, and I'll show you exactly what's on the back of these quest cards. So you're going to start at the top. So inevitable capture. The people of Echo Past. Oh, I should not have done that. Because the first thing you need to do is you need to put out 4 of your heroes to go on the quest. So looking at the back of the quest card, I know strength, brains and feet are what I'm going to need most prevalently. So strength, brains, and feet. So that's strength and feet. So that one's a pretty good one to put. That one's strength and feet as well, but we could definitely need some brains. So strength and brains, that guy's good. And yeah. Strength, yeah, let's go with that one. No, we'll go brains and feet. So those are the 4 ones I'm going to be sending on my mission. So now let's flip over the card and I'll show you how a quest card works. So, inevitable capture. The people of Echo Pass are crafty and have built a number of traps incorporating the lay of the land. Regardless, you must press on. So there's a bunch of traps. So my feet, I'm going to be testing for my feet, my speed. Luckily I have 1, 2, 3 speed out here. Also, my item card, coincidentally enough. Wow, that really came into play. Also gives me that, and I don't have to discard it, which means I'm going to be rolling 4 dice. And I'm hoping for a 5 or a 6 on any one of them, and I complete the quest. And I did. I completed that part of the quest. Now, normally I would gain the reward in the bottom left-hand corner, but there's no reward here, but I don't have to fail, which is good as well. So, here's how this works. There's still 2 more parts to it. If you are successful in what you're trying to do, then you jump, boop, right down here. So your punishment for trespassing is manual labor. You are chained to a large mill and forced to push it for a week and at least 1,000 revolutions. So I have to do that. I am in chains. So I check my chains, and as you can see, this is unfortunate because I have only 1 chains because I wasn't prepared for the chains. So let's see what happens. I did not get it. Now, if I would have got it, I would get whatever the moon icon was, which I think was receive an item card, which would be great. But since I didn't, unfortunately, one of the villagers is going to die. Why does one of the villagers die? Not quite sure. Now, let's pretend I would have failed the top part, then I'd go down here to the bottom part. The people of the town put you in the arena to fight for your freedom, which is now where I would look at my combat skill. And I'll talk more about the combat skill a little bit later when I talk about fighting monsters. But I want to shift right here to talk about the reward system. So I would gain this reward if I would have succeeded it. However, if I would have been doing this quest instead for the queen, it would have went very much the same way, except that, so if I succeeded on the top part, I would have put a star on here. If I would have failed on the second part or the third part, either one of them, then I would not put a star on there, but I would not have to deal with the penalties. So when you're doing quests for the queen, you don't have to deal with penalties because, I don't know, reasons. Then you were always going to have a third test, which is just where you'll test for this. So for me personally, that'd be a great one because I have 4 speed. I'd roll it, I'd probably get it, and that would be the end of my turn. This would get discarded. Now, if you're doing a solo quest, though, you're just going to pop this underneath your card to remind you that you've done it. Even if you failed it, it doesn't matter. You still get to put it there because you have traveled to that location and you've had that adventures. Also, if you complete the objectives down here, then you automatically at the end of your turn get to do the reward, whatever the reward is. So that is questing, and that's primarily what you're going to be doing on your turns. And that's a good time to talk about what you'll do on your turns. So on your turns, you really only have about 3 or 4 options. The first option is you can go questing for the queen, so you try to put stars on this, which is how you're going to win the game. But the catch is only 1 person per round can do that. Luckily, a round is only 4 turns, but still, once someone has done that, no one else can do it until the next round. The next thing you're going to do quite frequently is you're going to go questing for yourself and try to complete your personal quest down here. Oh, also these cards would all get put into the discard pile after they are used. Like so, and I draw 4 more. The last things you're going to be able to do are fight the Nemesis, which is a big bad guy who is in this stack of cards, and you're only going to have generally 2 of those in your stack, and they'll look like this, and they're really stinking hard to fight. Or you are going to be fighting monsters. So let's talk about fighting monsters and wrap this up. So, fighting monsters is going to look something like this. So let's just say these are the 4 monsters you have out on the board. You're going to, once again, put 4 cards out to fight, because you're always going to be putting 4 cards out to fight. And this is not, oh my gosh, this is actually terrible. This is like the worst thing ever. So how this works is you're going to look at the bottom left-hand corner, and the number of different symbols you have is going to denote how many dice you get to roll. So actually, I would be the worst person to send out in a fight because I only have 2 symbols in my whole hand. So I'd be rolling 2 dice right now. So I'll show you how this works. I have a 2 and a 4, which is really bad. Most likely what I would do is I'd put this here and I put this here. And you say, well, that's a 1. You have to put a 1. No, it's that number or higher. So I would defeat both these guys. I would keep these as trophies. And during the cleanup phase, which is a pretty lengthy cleanup phase, I would be able to turn in 4 of these for an item card, which look like this. And the item cards are generally things that are one-time use. So for instance, this one, I could use this as 1 speed die or 1 book die, and then I discard it. And they're not nearly as nice as the red item dies. And you're going to continue to do that until you've either won the game by completing 3 of the seals or lost the game by losing all your villagers, losing all your confidence, or losing all of these people. And you're going to rinse, wash, and repeat over and over and over again until you've won or lost. And that, in a nutshell, is what you're doing by order of the Queen. Alrighty then, by order of the Queen from Junk Spirit Games. What are my final thoughts? Let's go over the pros, let's go over the cons. First, on the con side, game's not going to be for everybody for a variety of different reasons. 2 to 4 players, restricted player count. Now I have 2 really big problems with this game, so I'm going to get those out of the way right now. So first and foremost, the game is too lengthy for what it is. It is a very light, simple, dice-rolling, cooperative game. And those sort of games are not supposed to be 90 minutes to 2 hours, at least in my personal opinion. And the game does outstay its welcome, and you will feel it as you play the game. Each time I played the game, and I played it with different crowds, I could feel it. And once you get to about 45 minutes, 50 minutes, people start caring less about the stories, about the interesting flavor text on the cards, and more about just roll the dice. Let's just keep this train moving. Because while I'm going to tell you the pros, spoilers, it's a good game, I don't think it's a great game. And the length of the game, I think, definitely plays a role in that. Now, the other big issue I have with this game is the dice. The dice themselves are perfectly fantastic dice. They're really nice quality dice. But the fact that you are going to be rolling them each and every turn for everything. You roll dice for every single thing in this game. You want to fight monsters? Roll dice. You want to go on a quest for yourself? Roll dice. You want to go on a quest for the queen? Roll dice. You want to fight Nemesis? Roll dice. And there's way too much luck in this game, especially for the length of the game. You have to roll a 5 or a 6, and if you could have the best laid out plans. You could make optimal decisions the entire game, but if the dice are not nice, you lose the game. Simple as that, and I do not like that aspect, especially factored in with a 90-minute to 2-hour game. So those two should never, ever, ever naughty go together. Now, the last big issue that I have with this game, so I do have 3 big issues. There's not much to do. There's nothing to do. There's nothing to do in this game. And it can get repetitive, and it can get tedious, and it will, potentially, because of how lengthy the game is. And that's one of the biggest problems I have with this game. If this game was 60 minutes, great game. Instant recommendation. 45 minutes, same thing. They needed to trim the fat here. They needed to make this a shorter game. But what I'm getting at here is there's not much to do in this game at all. You can go questing for yourself or for the queen. Does it really matter? No, you're still going on the same quest. And you can fight. That's it. You can either fight monsters or fight Nemesis. Is there really that much of a difference between fighting monsters and fighting Nemesis? No. You're still rolling dice. So you fight or you quest. Or you fight or you quest. Or you fight or you quest. And you fight and 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 quest. And you fight and you quest. And you fight and quest. And that's 90 minutes to 2 hours. Over and 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 over again. Now don't get me wrong. I really enjoy the flavor text, and I'll tell you that. And I really enjoy going on these quests and reading out these quests and rolling dice. And I did, but it was just too lengthy for what the game is. So, any other cons that I have with the game? The board space. I wish that they would have either given you a player aid card or put on the board what the cleanup, the event phase, the cleanup phase is, because it's 11 things, and you will have to go back to the rule booklet each and every time for order of operations, because the order of operations can matter, especially as you're getting closer to the end of the game. Do we complete the queen's ransom before we do the threat? The answer is no. You do the threat first, which might end the game for you. Any other cons? Just the main one. I just don't know who this game is for. It feels like such a disjointed game. But moving on to the pros. Let's get on to the pros. I think it's a good game. I do. I think it could have been great. I think this could have been an outstanding game. But I think it's a good game. And it's hard for me to recommend because I'm not quite sure who to recommend it to, because of the 2 to 4 players, because of the length of the game, because of too much dice rolling, because of the limited number of choices. But still, and this is the most redeeming quality of this game. Everyone I played it with saw all the flaws in the game. They're still like, yeah, I think it's a good game. I think it's okay. I would play it again. So I do definitely think there's a market for this game, but I'm just not quite sure who it is. So what do I like about the game? Obviously, artwork. The artwork's fantastic. The artwork on each and every card and all the heroes and all the stuff, it's fan-freaking-tastic. It's beautiful artwork. It's outstanding. The board looks great. The rule booklet looks great. All the stuff looks great. Component-wise, every single component in the game is nice, except for this weird little player board where you're going to put the retired heroes and the retired cards. But other than that, component-wise, top-notch components. Also, I like the dual-use cards. I like how the fact you have to look at a card and be like, all right, I need to be looking at the bottom left so I can pay attention to fighting the monsters. I need to look at the bottom right to see, which quest I'm going to be going on, which quest is the queen currently going on, what is my personal quest, and then the top left, because discarding these cards is going to give me a special ability, or it might give one of my partners a henchman or something like that. I like the dual-use nature of the cards. I also like the flavor text. I really do like going on the quest and reading out what you're doing on the quest, and it adds just a little extra element to the game that I like. It's not just rolling dice for the brains, it's reading out the story. And this game really does feel like kind of like it took a lot from Arkham Horror, I do believe. I believe the person that created this game, I'm going to take a wild stab in the dark, was a big fan of Arkham Horror, and it shows. There's lots of stuff that feel Arkham Horror-ish, including the length of the game. Continuing onward, I like the fact that there's numerous different ways to lose the game, and it's a balancing act. It's like, oh, we got to fight monsters, we need to do this, we need to do that, and it is a cooperative game. It really is. You're going to be talking at the beginning of the round. All right, who's best for going the queen's thing? And during the event phase, like, what card do you need? I need this card, you need this card. That's another con I have with the game. I did not like the fact that you just pass the card to the left. I wish it was just everybody's going to get rid of one card, and everybody's going to get one card back. It's completely cooperative. You're all right in the same location, theoretically, so why can't you just pass the card to whoever? That's neither here nor there, though. I guess a 3-player game, that wouldn't really work, would it? Yeah, it would still work, but not the same. I liked the 3 different ways to lose the game. I liked the Nemesis cards. I thought the Nemesis cards were interesting. They come in there, and they're an immediate threat that you have to deal with, and it does shake up the game when they come out there, so I like that aspect of the game. I like the item cards. I like the idea of the item cards. I myself am not a fan of the cards that you use once and you get rid of them because it doesn't really give them any flavor. It doesn't give your character any flavor. I wish they were the kind of things that they were persistent. That might make them too powerful, but you could tweak that because that would really make your character different from somebody else. Be like, oh, it's a speed challenge, so we should really get, Jimmy over here because he is the speed guy. He's got 2 items that let him get speed plus his permanent item. I don't know. It just felt like there was a lot of missed opportunities in this game, a lot of missteps in this game, and in the end, I think it's a good game. I do. I like it, but I'm not keeping it. I don't think it's a great game, and I think it could have been a great game, and it's unfortunate it is not. It's too long, too random, not enough to do, and in the end, by order of the Queen, valiant attempt, but it did not quite succeed. If you enjoyed this review, please be sure to click on that subscribe button down below in the comments below. Let me know what's a game that you have in your collection that you think is a good game, not a great game, but to you personally, it is a great game. For me personally, I'm going to go with, you know what, I'm going to go with King of New York. And the more I play the game, the more I realize that it's a good game. It's not a great game. Like, when I first got it, I thought it was great. I really did. It blew my mind. It's like, oh my gosh, it's King of Tokyo Plus. But the more I play it, the more I realize, I put it like this. The more I play it, when I first got it, I was like, all right, King of Tokyo is still right here, but King of New York's here. And the more I play it and King of Tokyo, the more it's like, and now it's like, all right, it's a good game. It's not great. But yeah, that's my game. What is your game, though? Let me know in the comments below. And as always, thanks for your time, YouTube.